I was just setting up to film this video and Yoli's decided that now is the time to play, and she is literally just walking in circles around me. What are you doing? What is it? Hello, I hope you're all doing well today. I thought I would do an updates video today because I feel like I've got a lot to show you at the moment. There's been so much going on with my collection this last month, more so, I feel like more so than other months so far. And I feel like that's partly because obviously we're coming out of the winter months and finally we're coming into growing season here in the UK, which makes me so unbelievably happy. But there's just been lots of like weird and wonderful things happening. So yeah, I usually do just like a top 10 list of this stuff, but I have not limited myself to 10 today. And I'm gonna take you through quite a lot of things. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learnt over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, as I say, there's been some things that have just been keeping me on my toes this month. I've discovered some really cool stuff as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So I thought I would actually bring you round to each individual plant this month so that I can talk a little bit about its growing conditions as well. But the first one that I want to show you is one that I spoke about 4 weeks ago, and this is actually a double update, which is rather exciting. It is the Peperomia Hope. And I chopped this plant, as I say, about 4 weeks ago and took some cuttings of it. And firstly, I was excited to experiment propagating this plant because I've just not had that much luck propagating it in the past. I will get onto that in a moment. But the reason that I decided to propagate this plant was just because I noticed that as it was growing, its growth was actually, the foliage was getting smaller and smaller. Like if you look at those leaves there, compared to some of its leaves it's got at the top here, you can see it's actually decreasing in size. And this is something that I'd never experienced before with this plant, because if you've been here on my channel for a while, you'll know that I did have this plant back when I was living at my mum's house. It's been one of my favourite plants for a really, really long time, and it was just giving me beautiful growth, and this was an issue that I never dealt with before. And so the only thing I could really put it down to since kind of restarting with this plant here in this environment is the fact that it was getting, I mean, not dramatically lower levels of light, but it wasn't getting as intense light as it was before. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to chop it, I'm going to take some cuttings, and I'm going to see how it regrows, moving it right into the window. And that's where it's living now. It's living on the shelf behind me, and it's getting very, very good light. And although it is too soon to tell whether or not its growth is going to be sizing up, I think considering that this is a semi-succulent and typically not the fastest to grow, considering it's only been a few weeks, I've got growth there. I've got so much new growth coming out at the top here as well. It's honestly just bursting with life at the moment. So it's definitely been much quicker to get going. And that's where we're up to at the moment. So I will 100% let you know when I have a more conclusive answer as to whether or not it was just purely light. It could be down to other factors as well, but I feel like this is probably the easiest one to eliminate straight off the bat. So yeah, so far it's looking very positive, but I will keep you updated. But as I say, I also took some cuttings of this plant, and previously I have tried so many ways to propagate the Peperomia Hope. I've tried vine cuttings, I've tried wet stick cuttings, I've tried propagating in water, in perlite, in sphagnum moss, you name it, I've tried it, and my success rate has been very, very low. More often than not, the cuttings have just rotted. And so this time I decided to propagate in the same way as I mean, to be honest, I don't really know why I haven't done it this way before, but I tend to propagate a lot of my peperomia by just taking leaf cuttings and chopping the leaf in half and planting them down into either soil or sphagnum moss. And I think just because this is a vining peperomia, I've never done it this way, but I thought I'd give it a go. And as you can see already, again, really quickly, like look at those little roots there. Do you see those white bits? It is starting to root. I also appreciate this is actually not the best light to be showing you it in, so I'll put some clips in, but oh my goodness, I'm just so happy that this is working because, as I say, I have not been able to get my head around it with this plant. I just haven't known, what to suggest when you guys have asked, because I'm like, I don't even know, but I've just picked up that little bit, and can you see? Look at those little roots starting to form. And this has happened really, really quickly. So far, this is 100% the most effective method of propagation I've found, but I will continue to keep you updated with both this and the mother plant, and hopefully I'll have some more positive things to tell you about them soon. And this next one is not the most stable in the world, and in fact, it's in the worst spot to be showing you because this is so crowded, but it is the large fenestrated section of my Monstera Dubia, which, as you can probably tell, is now taller than me. It is growing so incredibly quickly, and don't get me wrong, I'm so proud of this plant, and if I could just keep it growing like this forever, then I absolutely would. But the rate at which it grows now, I think because each new leaf that it's giving me is so ginormous, like it is so big, and it's giving me a leaf every few weeks. It just adds like 30 centimeters to the plant every single time it does give me a new leaf. So obviously I am going to have to at some point chop it, and oh my god, the thought of doing that genuinely makes me quite sad because, like, as I've just said, I'm so proud of this plant, and I really don't want to chop it, but I also realise that I don't have space to not. So I'm kind of thinking that perhaps I want to keep this lovely top section for myself because I want to essentially regrow the plant and just continue to try and get it to size up as much as I can. But I'm thinking that because I'm growing it on a moss pole and it does therefore have a really good root system in the moss pole, I could probably take some cuttings and maybe take them to the plant swaps this year. As I say, I am going to quite a few plant swaps, so I think that might be the way forward. And it is a plant that I really want to share the love with, but you know when you've just spent so much time watching something grow, although you want to be able to pass it along, there's just that little part of you that's like, don't cut your child, don't cut your baby. But yeah, so that is my thought at the moment, and I'm saying it out loud here because I feel like once I say it out loud, then I might be able to start processing it a little bit better myself, and maybe you guys might encourage me to do it, and then maybe we could do it together and it wouldn't be quite so scary. But yeah, I have actually made videos before on how I've managed to achieve this kind of scale of growth of my Monstera Dubia, because obviously it's not necessarily this isn't what you might necessarily think of when you hear Monstera Dubia. And I keep meaning to mention this as well, I am actually going to be doing a talk on getting your plants to size up at the RHS Houseplant Festival in Malvern this year, which is in May. And oh my goodness, if you guys haven't heard about this festival, it's basically going to be, I think, one of the biggest houseplant festivals that's ever existed in the UK, and I'm pretty sure there are still tickets available, so I will link that down below, and if any of you are able to come, it would be lovely to see you there. But yeah, that is, I think, what I'm going to be discussing, because it's something that I just feel like, I mean, obviously you want to get your plants to give you the best kind of healthiest growth possible, and I think because the plant is obviously responding in a similar way to what it would do in its natural habitat, that makes me feel like I've done my job properly as a plant parent. So yeah, I would have thought in the next month or two I'm going to need to make some pretty major decisions concerning this plant, and if you have any advice or any tips, please hit me with them down in the comments. I'm always looking for advice and support when it comes to doing scary things like this. But currently, I'm just very proud of her, very happy with how she's doing. And this plant actually grows on the shelf behind me, but it is so big and so awkward, I thought I would bring it down here to show you. But it is my big Alocasia Portadora. And I'm having struggles with this plant. It's very rare. Like, I know I jokingly sometimes say I have a love-hate relationship with the plant, but honestly, I adore this plant. I think visually it's gorgeous, but I am on the verge of getting rid of this one. I just feel like I'm kind of at my wit's end with it. And I've spoken about it before. This is probably one of my oldest plants. I know you might not think it because it's only got 2 leaves at the moment, but I have lopped it back to nothing so many times. And there's been points where this plant has been like twice the size of me, and I've just reset it, restarted it for various reasons. But the main reason has been pests. And while this is an alocasia that is, in my experience, very, very hardy, it can take quite a bit of neglect. It's very adaptable compared to some alocasias when it comes to its lighting requirements. It is just an absolute magnet for pests. And I absolutely know that when you're thinking about houseplants, and especially houseplants that are very susceptible to pests, you need to primarily just focus on like giving your plant everything it needs to be healthy, not focusing on necessarily fast growth, making sure it's in a good substrate, making sure it's getting good light, good heat, good humidity, all of the things it needs, which this plant has. However, still, pests are still getting it. They are still getting it. And I have been pest checking this plant every couple of days and just picking it up now to bring it over here and show you. I've just seen spider mites on it and I'm just like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm done with it. So yeah, I just don't know what to do. And it's so rare. I feel this with a plant, but I've had it for like 6-7 years now, and it has been a constant battle. And I just don't know. I don't know now if the beautiful growth that it gives me is worth that. Like, do I want to be doing pest treatments every week or two? So yeah, this is one that I'm very undecided about at the moment. And it's going to go through to the shower as soon as I film this again, and I'm going to give it a really good blitz off, a really good wipe down with horticultural soap, and probably, and it's rare that I say this with plants nowadays, but probably go in with something systemic just to make my life easier. I know that's not the best thing for the plant, but at the same time, it kind of feels like my only hope at the moment. So yeah, that's an update on that one. But I did, however, take some corms from this plant when I repotted it recently, and I will get them and I will show you how they're doing. So the little corm that had already started to sprout when I divided it is doing really, really well. This is a new leaf just here. And as you can see, it's already got that beautiful little Portadora form to it. And I don't doubt that this one is going to size up very quickly. It's definitely, as I say, one of the fastest alocasias to grow that I've ever owned, but 100% one of the fastest to size up. And I think it's probably, in my experience, about on par with the Alocasia Regale Shield in that way. But I would say in the next year, this one could very easily be giving me leaves that size. Very easily, in fact. That one sized up so quickly for me. So yeah, that little one's doing well. And then I made a prop box for some of the corms, and they are actually starting to root for me, which is good. This one here has got a teeny tiny leaf, and all of the others, in fact, that I can see, oh, I'll lift that out carefully and show you, have started to root down. And actually, I don't do sphagnum moss prop boxes for corms that often. It's just that I had so many with the Alocasia Portadora. I think I had 27 in total that I thought I would just try them a few different ways. And yeah, I'm glad to see that they're doing so well like this. I'm just keeping them covered in cling film at the moment, and these ones are just living again on my little rehab shelf. Again, these are ones that I will most certainly be taking to the plant swap with me this year, because I have got too many and one's enough drama for me. Also, on the note of alocasia, and this wasn't actually on my list to show you, but I'm just getting distracted, my Alocasia Regale Shield has started giving me this new leaf, and maybe it's just because it's sizing up, I don't know. Look how purpley it is. So far, none of them have been quite this purple, like even the stem is quite pink, and it's gorgeous. But yeah, as I say, so far none of them have really done that for me. So if you have this plant, do you know, is this normal? Is it doing something weird? But yeah, it's growing in a little coffee container here with some insane roots. And it's another one, as I say, that is really, really sizing up. I got this one probably 8 months ago now, and it was so small. And yeah, it's maturing very nicely for me. But as I say, that wasn't on the list. That was just a bonus plant. And coming down here, one that I've been so excited about is the Anthurium pallidiflorum, and this was a wishlist plant for me for such a long time. Also, I was going to say, I have just washed my hands. I know I was just handling a plant with spider mites. I know I get comments about that sometimes. Don't panic, my hands have been washed. But this one was giving me a new leaf when I first got it, and I didn't know, especially considering it was sent out when the weather was quite cold, I didn't know how that new leaf would develop. But this is the new leaf. It has just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it hasn't completely hardened off yet. As you can see, it is still a little bit like, I don't know how to describe it, like it's just got that very like young floppy texture to it, but it is doing really, really well for me. And I know when I first got it, I put it in the chunky anthurium mix that I'm using for pretty much all of my anthuriums at the moment, and I used a little milkshake container to make a dome around the sphagnum moss on top. And if you look just there, can you see it on camera? Just there, you can see already it's activated one of the aerial roots, and that's starting to put out into the moss, which is so positive. That's exactly what I wanted to happen, and that just means that obviously the plant is going to be able to absorb much more micronutrients. It's going to have a much stronger root system. If I want to chop the plant further down the line, then it's going to be much easier for me to do that. So yeah, I can also see, like towards the top even, again, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see on camera, but it is just rooting like mad. And it didn't have the biggest root system in the world when I first looked at it, so I'm really, really glad that it is responding well, and I'm glad that it's happy in my environment. I have heard that the pallidiflorum is a relatively, it's on the easier side of anthuriums, and I know I've said a lot that anthurium out of all of them is probably a genus that I struggle with the most. I'm doing lots of experimenting and lots of different things to try and educate myself a little bit more this year. I've got my secret anthurium collection, which I at some point am really, really excited to show you. But this one so far, I know it's early days, but it has just been a walk in the park. And it's one that I feel very lucky and very happy to own. My God, I'm getting super distracted. Another one that was not on the list to show you, but I've just noticed, and so I do have to now show you. Also, update, rug still outside. Surprise, surprise. But look at my little Anthurium clarinervium. This is one of my baby anthuriums that I grew from seed from the Anthurium clarinervium that I germinated. And in fact, if I excuse the mess, bring it over here a little bit. There we go, you can see better. It's starting to really get that gorgeous veination and kind of develop that beautiful clarinervium form. That leaf was close with it, but this one, and again, this one is still sizing up. This one is definitely getting there. It's so unbelievably satisfying to see these little babies start to do well for me and actually start to look like the parent plants. Because yeah, God, when was it that I actually started the pollination process? I started this when I was living back at my mum's house, and I think from initial pollination to harvesting the berries, I think it was about a year. So this has been a very long time coming. So whenever they start doing something exciting, it just makes me really happy. So yeah, there's another update that I didn't think I'd be giving. So one thing that I did want to show you, because I am just a little bit baffled by it, and it's not that it's an issue, but I just don't know why it's happening. So I collected a load of corms from my variegated alocasia frydeck a couple of months ago. I think I had about 8 or 9 maybe in total, and most of them are starting to sprout for me, which is really, really good. However, almost all of them are sprouting as complete ghost leaves, and I know I've spoken to some of you who have had completely the opposite issue. I know some of you have said you've bought a variegated frydeck corm and it's just come out completely reverted. And I've also spoken to some of you that have said this is very common and yours did this for the first leaf or two and then it started giving you a nice balance of green. But so far, I've seen absolutely no sign of that happening on any of mine. And bearing in mind, all of these corms were collected, I've collected them over different periods of time. I just don't know why all of them lack any green at all. So essentially, although they all look very pretty right now, they're all pretty much doomed. Like these leaves, because they don't contain any chlorophyll, are going to look gorgeous for a couple of weeks, and then they're just going to shrivel away and die. And the plants can't be that healthy while this is happening, because obviously it's not able to absorb any nutrients from the sun. So yeah, if anyone knows why this might be happening, do let me know. If there's anything that you have found to stop this happening. I mean, I honestly don't know what can be done at this early stage to prevent it. Like, I don't think like chopping it back would do anything. I'm actually just looking at the stem of this one, and I can see it's starting to push out a new leaf, and that one again looks to be completely white. So yeah, again, these are ones that I hoped to take to plant swaps this year. And I mean, I could just take ghost ones and say good luck, but I'd like to be able to find some kind of fix for it, if that's even possible. So yeah, any theories, let me know. Has this happened to you? When did it stop happening to you? But yeah, they're all growing, which is good, I guess. And also, seeing as I am just getting very distracted in today's video, we're going to roll with it, and I'm going to give you one more update. This is my little bear paw cactus, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on this one because I feel like such a proud plant parent with this one, because this is the one that I dropped and it lost loads of these gorgeous big bear paw leaves. I wasn't able to successfully propagate them, and I was just like, oh, this is exciting. Oh my goodness, I've seen something else exciting. So yeah, I wasn't able to propagate the leaves, these ones here. In fact, I just laid this one in the soil to see if it would do anything, and it hasn't. But it grew back very, very quickly, and now it's got far more like full and bushy, and all the growth it's giving me is gorgeous. However, the other thing that just distracted me is it's got another little bear paw. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. Like, yeah, it's got one coming up in the corner of the soil, and I don't know how that's happened. I'm just really, really in love with this plant, and I'm so happy it's grown back so well, so quickly. Believe it or not, I'm actually happy that the plant took a tumble now, because I think it's growing back better than it was growing before. But yeah, it's another one that I will 100% keep you updated with, because it's making me so happy. And coming over here to my cabinets, the one that I wanted to give you an update on is my variegated rapitor tetrasperma, because I cut this plant a couple of weeks ago now. When I was putting my Philodendron pinnatulobum onto a moss pole, I decided to make some cuts in this one, and it's firstly rooted amazingly since I've done that. Like, the root system has just taken off, and bearing in mind this was one that was quite slow to do anything before, and I've just noticed again since making the cut, I have noticed so much more growth. And I know I was saying that I was scared that this plant had reverted. Obviously I showed you that leaf. This is its most recent leaf, and it's also starting to split, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, it is definitely 100% much slower in my experience than the standard Raphidophora tetrasperma, which often can be the case with variegated plants because again, they don't contain as much chlorophyll, but I feel like this one is like excessively slow. Maybe once it gets going, it will be a bit quicker, I'm not sure, but at the moment, I'm just loving like everything it does for me, and this little split just feels like, it feels like a big step forward, a big step in the right direction. So yeah, I'll let you know how it gets on, and maybe think about getting it onto a moss pole soon. I'm not sure, I feel like I should definitely upgrade its substrate because it is still in moss. I might give it another month or two, leave it in my cabinet because it's obviously very, very happy in my cabinet, and then make some decisions on it. But yeah, I think because this one hasn't done anything for me like significant in quite a while, it's one that I haven't been like majorly excited about, and now I'm just starting to get excited about it. So yeah, thought I would show you that. And this one here is another one that I decided to completely reset, restart, chop back to nothing. And I did that about 4 weeks ago. And it is my Anthurium bullatus, which is looking very different from when I last showed you it. But this is its newest leaf, which I think is just adorable. As you can see, again, it's literally just unfurled in the last 24 hours. So it is very much still sizing up. But again, this has happened since I've upgraded its substrate, and I'm hoping that maybe now I've turned a bit of a corner with this plant, because it is one that again, another anthurium that I've struggled to get my head around. But I'm just really enjoying experimenting with different things for them and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And the fact that this has happened so quickly feels like I've made some positive changes, but we will wait and see. Also, just because it's here, I just need to show you this again. I know I showed you in the beginning of my report and chat the other day, but just look at that teeny tiny Rockwianum leaf. I just think it's so sweet. I've never seen one that small before. But yeah, I feel like since I've started experimenting more with anthuriums, and since I've started getting things right, or like getting things right in my own environment, I have suddenly noticed loads and loads and loads of growth, because I know typically they can be quite slow to grow. But yeah, I feel like everywhere I look at the moment, I'm just seeing lots of little anthurium leaves. So I'm excited to report back when I feel like I have been able to keep it consistent for a little while. But yeah, it just means that I've got lots that are exciting me more than ever right now. Just looking down here by my little rehab shelf as well, I know I decided to completely chop up and reset my Philodendron El Choco Red, I think about a month ago now, and I just had it in a little sandwich bag on that shelf just there, and it's put out an amazing root system. And as you can see, it's just starting to give me a new leaf, and I'm so happy. Another one that I'm so happy that I decided to do the chop on, because I think this plant is just going to grow back so much healthier now. I am really tempted to try and help this leaf unfurl, but I know I probably shouldn't. I always need to stop myself because I always want to. But yeah, it's a plant that I currently don't really feel like I've got in my collection, because obviously it hasn't looked great for a while, so I'm really excited for that leaf to unfurl. And finally, I've got two more that I wanted to show you, and they live on the shelf just next to me here, but I thought it was easier to sit here and show you because the light's starting to go. But this is the Euphobia Trigona. And this is one that I got from one of you guys at the London plant swap, the last London plant swap. And as you can see, it's finally starting to give me some growth, and I am so excited about this. I know Euphobias can take a little while once they root to actually get going, and I wasn't sure what this one was going to do, because obviously because it's been like chopped at the top and bottom, it's quite unpredictable. But yeah, I've got two little branches coming out there that have two, I want to say, like, sections of leaf. Like, what are these things? I guess they are just little leaves, little succulent leaves. But yeah, I'm so excited to watch this one grow now that it's actually like made a start, because I know from my other types of Euphorbia, once they get going, they're kind of unstoppable. Like, I can't even keep my two big Euphorbias in this room anymore because they have actually pushed me out. One of them is about that much taller than me, the other one's up to there. So if this is anything like those ones, I think it might be joining them in the other room quite soon, because I think it will be really quite speedy. But yeah, it's very different. It's very different to my other ones, because they don't tend to have these, as I say, the little succulenty leaf things. And it's just one that's making me very excited. So yeah, again, as always, we'll keep you updated. And finally, I'm not sure if I've even shown you this one over here on YouTube yet. I know I've spoken about it on Patreon, and I can't remember the Latin name for this plant, but I'll put it on the screen. But it's commonly known as the desert rose. And I was sent this one at the beginning of the year, again, very kindly by one of you guys. I did a little plant swap with you, and I have never owned this plant before. I've never seen it in real life. And it came with a beautiful, like, I guess, yeah, like rose-like leaves. It came with beautiful, beautiful foliage, and I lost all but one leaf. That is the only original remaining leaf, I think just because it was really, really cold. But since it started to grow back, it has been way quicker than I expected it to be. And all of these leaves here at the top have popped up literally in the last couple of days. So I'm really glad that the plant is obviously starting to adjust to my home, that it's happy. It's one that I've never grown before as well, so I'm kind of just figuring it out. I've unfortunately been able to speak to some of you guys that have got this plant and are growing it really well. So yeah, it's a weird one, and it's one that as I say, I've never seen before. I haven't got any experience with, so I'm enjoying learning about it as I go. Currently just got it in a very gritty, sandy mix, and I'm otherwise growing it very similarly to my euphorbias, which again is what I've been told, so I hope that's the case. But yeah, I could go on and on today. Honestly, I'm in a very chatty mood and my plants have just been really exciting me this month, so there's lots more that I could take you through, but I think I'm going to leave it there for today. But yeah, do let me know down in the comments below, as always, what's going on in your plant collections. I love hearing your updates, so like anything, like top 3 things that are exciting you right now, let me know down below. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.